Sunlight, warm and golden, spilled across the hardwood floor. I curled tighter, my tail thumping softly against the rug. This was my spot, a haven of warmth where the sunbeams met the shadows. From here I could see everything. The front door, the hallway, the kitchen where he, my human, moved with his morning routine. His scent, a familiar blend of coffee and something else I couldn't quite place, wafted through the air. It was a good smell, a safe smell. Home. My ears perked up at the clinking of his spoon against the ceramic mug. A sound as familiar as my own heartbeat. Soon he would be here, ruffling my fur, his voice a rumble of affection as he greeted me with a cheerful, "Good morning, boy." His touch, always gentle yet firm, would follow, a hand scratching behind my ears, sending shivers of contentment down my spine. The world, bathed in the golden glow of the morning sun, felt safe, familiar, and filled with the quiet joy of our shared routine. Every day began like this, a symphony of simple pleasures, and in those moments my heart knew nothing but peace. He moved with a predictable rhythm, my human, every clink of a dish, every creak of the floorboards, every sigh as he read the morning news. It was a language I understood. After the sunbeams shifted from the floor to the wall, he'd leash me up. We'd walk, a familiar route through the park, the scent of freshly cut grass filling my nostrils. The world was a kaleidoscope of smells, the earthy musk of wet leaves, the faint sweetness of blooming honeysuckle, the sharp tang of car exhaust in the distance. I'd sniff at every tree, every lamppost, committing each new scent to memory. He'd chuckle, a low rumble in his chest, and tug gently on the leash. "Come on, boy," he'd say, his voice filled with amusement. "We'll be here all day at this rate." But today the rhythm faltered, the clinking spoon stilled, the newspaper lay unfolded on the table, the scent of coffee lingered, but it was cold now, the aroma tinged with a strange bitterness. The silence stretched, thick and heavy, broken only by the ticking of the clock on the wall. I whined, a low sound in the back of my throat. My human always greeted me. He always smelled of warmth and coffee. He always smiled. Where was the familiar rumble of his voice, the reassuring weight of his hand on my head? The silence was wrong, all wrong. It clung to the air like a bad dream, suffocating the familiar sense of home. A shiver ran down my spine and I whimpered again, my tail thumping nervously against the floor. He was in his study, the door slightly ajar. I padded closer, my nose twitching. The scent of him was stronger here, but it was different. It wasn't the comforting smell of coffee and home. This scent was sharp, unfamiliar, laced with something that made my stomach churn. It smelled like tears. He never cried, my human. He was strong, always laughing, always with a kind word and a gentle pat for me. But the scent was unmistakable. Salty, metallic, the smell of sadness. Fear, sharp and cold, pricked at the edges of my worry. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. I whined again, louder this time, pouring at the door. No response, just the rustle of papers and the muffled sniffle that sent another wave of unease through me. I paced back and forth in front of the closed door, my nails clicking against the hardwood floor. Each tick of the clock seemed to amplify the silence, each unanswered whine fueling the fear that gnawed at my insides. My human needed me. I knew it with every fiber of my being. But the door, usually a gateway to shared laughter and gentle pats, now stood as a barrier, separating me from the one I was born to protect. The scent of his distress was a siren call, urging me closer, yet the unfamiliar silence held me back. Section 6. Shadows lengthen, fears grow. The sun dipped lower, painting the walls with long, ominous shadows. Still he hadn't emerged. The scent of tears had faded, replaced by a stifling emptiness that was somehow worse. My tail, which normally wagged with boundless enthusiasm, was now tucked low, my ears drooping with each passing moment. He wasn't in the kitchen nor the living room. The silence in the house was deafening, a heavy blanket stifling all familiar sounds. My heart pounded a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Where was he? What was wrong? Section 7. The weight of unshed tears. Finally a sound. A muffled sob, thick with despair, coming from the bedroom. I didn't hesitate. I scratched at the door, a desperate plea for entrance. He needed me, I knew it. My human, who was always so strong, was hurting. And I, his faithful companion, was locked out, unable to offer comfort, unable to lick away the tears I couldn't see but felt so keenly. The weight of his sadness pressed down on me, heavier than any storm cloud. I whimpered again, a long, mournful sound that echoed in the silent house. He needed to know I was there, his constant shadow, waiting, watching, ready to offer a lifetime of love and loyalty in the face of whatever sorrow had befallen him. Section 8. A cold nose. A warm hand. The door creaked open. He sat on the edge of the bed, his shoulders slumped, his face hidden in his hands. I didn't need to see his eyes to know they were filled with a pain I couldn't comprehend. Tentatively, I nudged his hand with my nose. The cold wetness, a stark contrast to the warmth of his skin. He flinched, then slowly looked down at me. In his eyes, I saw a reflection of my own worry, a mirror of the fear that had been twisting in my gut. But there was something else there too, a flicker of gratitude, a spark of recognition that he wasn't alone. Section 9. My place by your side. He reached out, his hand trembling slightly as it buried itself in my fur. I leaned into his touch, a low rumble of comfort vibrating in my chest. Words weren't needed. In that shared silence, in the warmth of his touch and the steady beat of my heart against his leg, we found solace. I didn't understand his pain, but I didn't need to. My place was by his side, a silent guardian, a furry beacon of unwavering love in the face of his unspoken sorrow. As long as he needed me, I would be there, a warm weight against his leg, a wet nose nudging away his tears, a constant reminder that even in the darkest of nights, love, loyalty, and the unwavering companionship of a dog could chase away the shadows.